art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. I like this expression of Mark Van Doren, the great poet and educator. And I want to make an interesting point that pure scientific method, as we tend to think about mathematics or physics or biology and other scientific disciplines, they have the same approach and attitude towards knowing and understanding as, let's say, understanding the voice. Young scientists say, give me the formula and I will understand the process. But even in math, does formula give us the understanding of the process or its approximation? Sometimes I'm surprised that young scientists think that they learn the real process by learning formulas. Well, real scientists know what they learn. Unfortunately, because of the problems in our education, lots of so-called young students calling themselves scientists don't understand the difference between the real process and the formula they're learning. And because of that, they make formula sacred. I repeat that any formula, no matter how beautiful it looks, is just an approximation of the real process that is a lot more difficult and complicated than formula describes. In singing, what we have instead of formula is a strict set of rules or even a method that is to be followed. So as we see the difference between the science, the real sciences, I mean mathematics and physics, in comparison to voice, is all valid singing theories and methods are based on personal sensation, and a personal sensation of a leader, a particular guy who basically started the school, or a particular guy that the school is thinking of as the example. You see, pure science doesn't work in singing, because you cannot just describe what you're supposed to do, show the muscles, show how you open the throat, exactly show the position of your standings, and realizing that make this mechanism work. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. That's why science, standing alone without psychology and personal sensation, is really helpless in our business. But it's absolutely valid when we combine it with personal sensations and psychology. In singing theory, we have method that works as formula based on personal sensations. These personal sensations will depend on basically three factors: physical structure of the body of a singer, psychological factors, conditioning of the mind by another teacher or school. We have to remember that we can be conditioned so subtly, so subconsciously, that even we don't understand that we are conditioned. I'll give you an interesting psychological experiment on conformity or conformism. There was an experiment. Two innocent students were placed in a particular environment where another 40 students who knew exactly what they were supposed to say pretended that they were in the same condition, and obvious things were shown to the audience, like square or triangle, let's say. And those who were playing the roles, they were saying things like this. On the triangle, they were saying this is a round, or a square. And another would say, yes, this is a square. And the third one, this is, and then they will ask, eventually they will ask those guys who really were not involved in this and were just really independently. And the amazing thing that after hearing so many people saying that on the square that this is, they stuttered and eventually they agreed with the rest of the students. You have to realize that conditioning can be very subtle. If your mind is not really open, really, it can pull up very powerful illusions to prove what it believes in. So coming back to assisting discovery, how do we learn voice? There are basically three ways of teaching and learning voice. First one, through mimicking. Second one, through structural approach or method. And the third one is psychological approach. Let's talk a little bit about the first one. Mimicking school is very powerful, and it has a great potential for the certain students who have very good vocal ear. The condition is that the teacher who teaches them also has a beautiful and correct voice, otherwise they will mimic incorrect voice in this case. So the mimicking teacher has to be absolutely great with his technique, otherwise there's no point of showing anybody in his own voice something that is not correct. I mean, I've heard this, a voice teacher correcting a student, absolutely correctly correcting the student, but I mean then showing him how to do, and that is confusing sometimes. I mean, if he shows it well, then thank you. Or you're mimicking teacher, then you have to show at least correctly what you do, otherwise your school is totally collapses. Now the most popular is the method, is the structural approach. And I'm not blaming those who follow the methods and stuff, but I always have a very strong opinion about it. For example, I consider that even if you follow the method should be just as a structure. If the method, no matter what it calls itself, appoggio, placement or whatever, if the method is formal, it goes only for structural things, it shows that the teacher really does not understand the sound. He learned something from the method, from the reading the books, or even from assisting another teacher to another singers, but he does not really understand the voice, the sound. Understanding the sound is the most important thing. It's number one, it's number two, it's number three, it's number four. It's only the number five could be a structure and method coming into a plane. But it is, of course, it's easier to just follow the method. I'll give you an example. Again, I gave this example before. I think it's very powerful. When Corelli was asked, there is one opinion in one particular method that your tongue should be absolutely flat and lie like this when you sing, okay? And most singers believe it. And Corelli was asked, is that correct to have a flat tongue? Corelli gave a great answer. He said, why would anybody be concerned about the position of the tongue if the voice is great? So you see, the Corelli is coming from the source, from the sound. If the sound is correct, teachers should not be concerned about other formalities. Majority of structural teachers or method teachers, they follow a principles. Let's say principle, flat tongue, blah blah blah, and all the principles you can make. And of course, I'm not saying that these principles are totally incorrect. What I'm saying is that in all structure of teaching, it should be a priority. And in singing, priority is the sound. So 3 times sound and only later something else. And some people ask me a question, is there any way to understand real appoggio without experiencing it first? Because it sounds like, you know, it's catch-22. If you never experience it, then how you get it? When you produce a correct appoggio sound or a phrase, your teacher tells you that you did it right or you did it wrong. And that is assisting discovery, you know, because your teacher hears, hopefully, hears you better than you do. And this is the law of singing. Unfortunately, there are opinions about that the singer should not be learning from anyone and just from your own self, classical singing including. And there is opinion that you cannot do without a maestro, a classical maestro. There's two marginal views on that. You see, I'm trying to make you understand that these both approaches are wrong. So no matter how reputed maestro, what name of maestro, it doesn't mean that he is necessarily a good maestro for you, or his method is going to work for you. You have to understand that. What is a good teacher? Good teacher for me is the teacher who has a very good ear, respects your individuality, respects the nature on your voice, and assists you in discovery, in making your own progress, because he is your third ear. And in voice, that is the perfect condition. Of course, if the teacher is an intellectual and he can explain well, it adds up a little bit to his expertise. But the most important thing is here, is the ear of a teacher, and his ability to tell the subtle things, the differences between one voice register singing and multi-timbral singing, if you like. This is all very important. As a conclusion to what I said in this lecture is the art of assisting discovery for a student is teacher's feedback. And that's why it's very difficult. You need 3 lives maybe. If you want to learn classical singing alone, just alone, without nobody, you need 3 lives. Even if you're a genius, you will probably have a very difficult time of understanding your voice because you simply don't hear it. Even recording it will make its situation a little better, but it's still, recording is not a real thing. So art of assisting is the teachers giving you feedback and you're trying to understand and to memorize this as a sensation. And by using this next time as a sensation, you will pull up the correct sound even without really hearing it. With time, your ear becomes keener and you will learn how to hear yourself 90%. You will never learn how to hear yourself 100%, but you will learn how to hear yourself 90%. It's a big progress. Thank you very much. It was Franco Tinelli, Science of Singing. Until next time.